Oi, oi. Weekend's racing is upon us. Saturday, Sunday, there's a few races I've got of interest within here. There may be a couple that I could suggest as bets as well. So yeah, because it's decent racing this weekend, and I know that lots of you are getting excited. Like I genuinely do read all the comments that go in below anyway, but I'd appreciate to know the ones that you fancy this weekend as well, because I'll have a sight over those to see if there's anything that I've sort of missed. And it's nice this time of the season to get a few names into the back of your mind, in it, for potential things to watch going forward. So I'll be watching the racing tomorrow. I'll be at Cheltenham, and then I'll be watching replays and stuff over the weekend as they come. So let's just try and crack on. Let's try and keep this concise. I'll just kick it off with, obviously, please like the video. That's always a handy thing. Please do interact and comment below, because that's a handy thing too. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Right, that's out of the way. First race tomorrow is probably going to be a bet. The Novices Hurdle. It's a race where Wrexham's in it. So the one that we've talked about that's been put up for an Albert Bartlett does look a decent and serious horse, to be fair to him. Music Drive's running today. I don't think that's obviously going to run again. Shearer, I don't know if it's allowed to, is it? Shearer is here in this race as 131 rated, so comes in with a position and has been priced up at second favourite. I think Hills are the ones that have priced this one up. Was a pretty impressive winner at Worcester the other day, and did try hurdling last season. So he did win a hurdle race. He's still eligible for the novice hurdle races. I think it was March that he picked his one up, but he won't be eligible for novices for too much longer. But St. Pelay's the one that I like. 148 rated. That has come off over fences because he ran over fences last season. He did try hurdling 4 times. Was beaten in a handicap hurdle end of April 2021, I think it was. And jockey lost his irons. Could have won that day. So potentially is getting lucky to be in here as a technical second season novice, even though it's a while back since he was hurdling. But he beat Jericho Rock. They were about levelish weights. Jericho Rock was obviously second in the Ultima at Cheltenham off 139. So I think, although he's 148 rated, maybe he's a little bit inflated, but I feel like he's at least 140-ish. If we say that the chase defence has brought out improvement with him, then you can maybe take a little bit off. So let's say we take half a stone off. But he was hurdling as a 4-year-old, and now he's sort of 5, going 6 to be hurdling again. So I think they could be just strength and growth improvement. But if we say we take a bit of weight off there and just say, let's just say he's going to run to mid 130, let's take £10 off of it. He gets £8 from Wrexham, who's a 130 horse. He gets £5 from Shearer, who's a 131 horse, and he's level weights with Twig, that's a 134 horse. Now I think this St. Pelay's got enough justification to say he should be shorter than the 4-1. I wouldn't make him short, but he's a little bit of value in my eyes. So I'd probably put my price point in there as saying that 3-1 is the line, so 3-1 would be sort of a no bet, but I think that's still a bit fair because I'm adding a bit of slush in there. Anything bigger than that, so like your 100 to 30, 7 to 2, 4 to 1s or whatever, you might want to have a little bit of a tickle on, and obviously the bigger the odds, potentially the bigger the bet, but I think he's got a proper chance in there. I think it's one of those types of races, isn't it, where I don't think it might take as much winning as we think. I am scared of Wrexham, to be honest with you. He's done everything as nicely as he wants to do it, but St. Pelay, I think for me, is just a fair price. There's a handicap chase after this that I don't really have too much interest in there. The Holliginge, I think, was £10 higher when second in it last year, so rightfully instilled as favourite, got the best chance. And then the Marston's Holding Hurdle. Now, Pied Piper, Night Salute, Dr. Panusis are the only 3 that you'd think to jump off the sheet would be in with a bit of a chance. Bella Scintilla for Joseph O'Brien. I think it's quite an interesting one because she does get best part of a stone from the top 2 big kids. She beat Still Seal, who won the other day. Admittedly, they're only mares races and they're not very good races either, but she's got a stone to play with. So in theory, say the big boys are running to 140, she's got to run to 130-ish to do it. She's rated 129, not without reason to think that she could do it. I do think Pied Piper is the one to beat, though. I'd make him maybe like a 4 to 6 poke, and again adding slush, and I'd make it about even. So he's about the right price again. I've added a bit of slush in there, so I don't think you go too far wrong if you did want to back him, but I won't be backing him. I think he needs to be a bit bigger. So if he did go out to 6 to 4 or something like that, I probably would get a few quid on. I think he was just so impressive at Cheltenham, when he obviously before the triumph, Davy Russell rode him and he could have sat there and done what he wanted with him. He could have got him probably beaten and stuck him into a boodles, but they let him go and he was just so ultra impressive. I thought he was still pretty good at Aintree, to be honest with you. Can't really take too much away from Night Salute because he got the job done and got it won, but I just think Pied Piper actually is a better horse. They proved it in the triumph. The market's reacting exactly the same way. I think they were probably about sort of joint favourites, but Night Salute is a 5 to 2 poke now, so I'm not saying anything anyone doesn't know or the market doesn't know, but there we are. It is a risky division, isn't it, back in these 4-year-olds as they're going into open company, but when they're still running against the other 4-year-olds. Nothing in the race after this. Then we've got the Pertemps Handicap Hurdle qualifier, and I know people will look for the one that might want to win this because they can't win the final, and I do get that. This is just abundance of a race where there's just loads of horses you've got some sort of affiliation with in the past. Two I'll give a mention to is Ask Dylan, backed this horse for donkey's years. I backed him in the Albert Bartlett years ago and they ran him in the Ballymore. We would have won the bloody Bartlett that year, but never mind. Goes on any sorts of ground. He does want it probably better quicker, but with a little bit of ease, so I think the conditions are going to be perfect for him. He's about 25 to 1 poke, so extended places, and Jack Hogan taking some weight off. I wouldn't say he's the worst bet in the world. Scandyberg, I keep looking at him, trying to make a bet for him. When he got beat by Dolphin Square, that was when I backed Dolphin Square, fancied him quite a bit, and then I said Scandyberg was an each-way bet. Did come fifth, there were extended places that day, it was 50 to 1 poke. About the same sort of price today, less of a case to be made for him, but he is £10 lower than when I fancied him on seasonal debut that time before. I think he does potentially go well off the back of a long break, and I'm tempted, like as a punter, I'd be tempted to have a token few quid on him because I fancied him on seasonal reappearance last year for £10 higher mark. He hasn't really done a lot in between, but I was enough of a case to be made last time. It's just hard in the context of this. I mean, he is a course winner, which is a lot more than can be said for others. Admittedly, that was back in January 2020. That was off a mark of 134, so he's only £2 lower than that back then, and he hasn't really had much form since, but he's a 50s poker and he was 3 to 1 favourite that day. So I mean, they're the ones I just want to mention. The novices chase, we've got Art Approvals actually declared at Aintree as well for Sunday with Paddy Brennan booked for there, so I don't know which way he'll go. Ashtree Meadow ran today, so probably isn't going to run. It's going to probably be a small field. I do like Life in the Park. When I tipped up the JP horse at Punchestown, the David Pipe horse, that was a 109 rated horse. I said Life in the Park was sort of the stake saver at 9 to 1, went off 9 to 2, won. 119, I think it was rated then. So it's won races since. It won over fences last month and looked pretty good there. 140 rating that you'll see on the Racing Post, everything, I think is a bit inflated at the moment. So to talk of this horse to potentially be like a Brown advisory horse or anything like that, I think's way too premature. But I really do like this horse. I think it's just going to keep improving with every single run. So the better a performance we see from him tomorrow, then obviously the better that means for his prospects as the season goes on. But I wouldn't say he's a foregone conclusion. I don't think the rating's exactly spot on there. And he does give Mile a Mission £5 down the bottom. So it may just be a case that on this occasion, maybe someone like Mile a Mission might be able to get the better of Life in the Park or make a proper race of it. And then Life in the Park might be one to progress with as time goes on. But looks a good race. Definitely keen to watch that one. There's a bumper at the end, but there's nothing of note in there for me. So we'll just swerve that and we'll get on to Sunday. So to summarise for the Saturday, I'm having a bet in that first on that St. Palais, probably. I need to wait till some more books open and see what I can get on the exchange. Pipe is about the right sort of price, may possibly be lured into that, but my better sense tells me to stick away from those types of races. And then, I mean, Aston at 25s, I think is a fair price, extended places, and I think Scandyberg at 50s is worth a bit of a swing, but I would probably look at both of those personally to play them as a trade perspective. I've been doing that on the racing today, just been trading horses to get a few quid worth of profit, see if I can pay for a few Guinnesses tomorrow at the track. £7.50 a pint. I need a few trades to come in for that. Right, let's crack on with Aintree so I can tell you thoughts on here. Field's cut up a tiny bit from what I was kind of hoping, but we have still got some really nice races in here. The Old Roan looks decent. I think Hitman potentially could be the graded horse that's in the handicap, but we're just going to wait for Racing Post to catch up. This seems to be the theme of my videos the last couple of days, or just today, because both videos have come out today, but I'll wait for this to come up and then we'll run through a few bits. It shouldn't take too long. Like I say, like and subscribe, comment below. Hope you're on a lovely day. It's so bad, isn't it? I just can't be bothered to edit in between. And I know that's unprofessional of me, but busy life, innit? Busy life. What we'll be doing as well, there's a few more anti-post tips that have come out from a few more channels, so I'm going to try and keep on top of that in terms of trying to basically let you know what people are putting up into one consolidated place and giving you some views in between. But I'm probably going to do maybe like a bit of a Q&A one at some point, so keep your eyes peeled for when I mention about that, because I'm going to see if I can get a few of us to comment on some bits and pieces, get some questions in and out there, and then have maybe a live or some sort of interactive bits and pieces in there. Right, so in the first race, the Conditional Jockey's Handicap Hurdle. It isn't one that I'm going to bet, but it's one that I very much want to watch. Riggs, that's now with John McConnell, was with Dan Skelton before. I think he's a real good jumper of a hurdle. I don't think 126 is anything beyond what he's capable of. Like, I think he can easily run to that mark. I don't know whether this is a pointer for something else future, but I feel like John McConnell's happy to win races this time of the year. So Riggs is about 16 to 1 poke. As I say, from a punter's perspective of just trying to have a little bit of bet on something, I like Riggs, and I could see him being nibbled, to be honest with you. I think he's way too big a price but it's not really based on a lot. So this wouldn't be the sort of ones where I want to get steamed into or want to use my caddy criterion calculator to say, I think this is probably like a 5-1 poke. It's a feel and like punty thing. So Riggs would be worth a watch, I suppose. The Veterans Handicap Chase is a sort of race where we shouldn't really be getting involved, should we? Cloth Cap pulled up at Chepstow, obviously now Veterans chasing. The ground was always going to be suitable. Sorry, he pulled out at Chepstow, not pulled up. He pulled out at Chepstow. The ground was always going to be suitable there as far as I'm concerned, but he didn't run. This is more his sort of track, I guess. He is an 8-1 poke, and I think it's, I don't know, maybe a little bit inflated, but it does look a good race. There's some nice horses in here that run well. Manila Celebrations, course and distance winner. If the Cat Fits is interesting for David Pipe, because I think that Scudamore was booked for the week, and then Armison's on now. 11-1 poke, obviously won the long distance hurdle here, or whatever they call it, the Aintree out of the 3-mile one. Like, I think he's potentially got like scope in this sphere. I don't think he's that bad a jumper, to be honest with you either. So he'll be one to keep an eye on just to see how they go. But I think off of that sort of mark, he could go well. But again, it wouldn't be a bet. I mentioned Hitman in the Old Roan Chase. Yeah, like it looks a good race. Obviously, he's got to give a lot of weight away to other horses. He's putting a few of them out the handicap here. So there's a few horses, because you can only go down to 10 stone 6, are out of the handicap. Not necessarily going to completely ruin their chances, but horses like Beakstown do not want to be effectively carrying a £4 penalty in this sphere, especially when he's got breathing problems. So again, wouldn't be a bet in there. I think Hitman probably does deserve to be favourite. There's a lot of them that have got course and distance form, and lots of them that have got course form. So it looks a real competitive race, so fair play if you want to actually have a poke in there. But I like Hitman. I think he's a good horse, and I think he is the graded horse in the race. Obviously, he's top weight, isn't he? Then there's a handicap hurdle over 2.5 miles. Now, Gentleman at Arms I put up at Aintree Festival last year when he was second to Gelino Bello. Big price that day. Little disappointed because he's gone up £9 because of that run. I'm not 100% sure he's going to win a handicap off 143, so don't want to be putting him up for this race. He's going to be short-ish, maybe second, third, fourth favourite, somewhere around about there, but he's definitely one to keep an eye on. I think he'll be there or thereabouts. He could go and win it. I'd rather, if he was a 12s, 14s poke, I'd probably be having a little play on him, but I don't think I can. But it looks a nice race. There's lots of horses in there again that have got form around here and are capable of their mark. So very exciting race. That's definitely the sort of race that you can watch now, and I guarantee you there'll be winners that will come out the back of that. Maybe not so much for your Voider Revs and Black Lions, but here we are where we are. Then there's a maiden hurdle after, where there's a few that are interesting within here. Mexico, again, another Stuart Edmonds horse. I think like is an okay run. I had a run around here last month, potentially could have just been a run after the fact of a break. That was only over 2 miles, and it's now stepping up to 2.5, so probably does need a bit more of a trip. In bumpers, it was putting against some half decent horses, so Might Eye was one that it was behind, but it was well beaten by that, so don't know how good a horse this will be. He's a geezer for Dan Skelton and Harry Skelton. They'll obviously be trying at this time of the season, so potential within there for some ones to watch. I don't know how good a horse we're going to find in this race, but it's a nice enough looking race. Anyway, then we've got a novices handicap chase. There's only 4 runners. Art Approval could go here, could run on the Saturday, so it's only going to be a small field. Champagne Super Over probably is going to win the race, to be honest with you. There's a little lurker down the bottom, Your Own Story for Lucinda Russell, though, that's rated 116. Been dotting about in handicap hurdles, and then they've stuck it in a novices handicap chase. So I've talked about this before, the novice handicap chase, when you get in off your hurdle marks. Now, if you look at how the horses run, it's sort of progressed to a point with the previous trainer in point to points, whereby it was well battered, got a little bit better, then it ran a little bit better, then it got back-to-back wings, and it's joined Lucinda Russell. Now, she's run it in 3 hurdle races. It is a pointer. I haven't watched any of its races that are in there, but when you read the comments of it, there's no real defining comments of the horse making mistakes. So obviously it's going to be a better chaser. She's got it a mark of 116 over hurdles, and she's running it in a handicap chase here over the 3 miles, basically 1 furlong as well. That's the sort of trips it was going over. Hurdling, it did manage to win a novice hurdle as well, so knows how to get the job done. So very interesting for me, that Your Own Story at the bottom. I don't know how they'll price the race up, and it would be a little bit punty, but I'm half hoping that they're going to make Champagne Super Over short. And if this Your Own Story, I mean, it depends if there's 3 or 4 runners, but if this Your Own Story was sort of 4 or 5 to 1 in a 3-runner race, I'd be tempted to back, so it could be a bet in there. Then there's a bumper at the end, watching Let's Talk Racing stuff with Josh and Andrew. Josh has mentioned that Dan Skelton, I think it's Clara Rose. Yeah, Clara Rose was the one that they seemed to be fairly keen on, so that could be good. There are some nice other types that are in this race, though, and it is a mare's bumper, so again, another race just to watch. And then we'll just see how they get on. But there's a few bets that are in there for potentially for the weekend. As I say, please do drop the video a like. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And again, put in the comments the ones that you fancy or you disagree, agree with some of the stuff that I'm saying. It is a tricky time of year at the moment. There's not going to be too many things you want to lump into because I don't want to be rude, but the calibre of the horses just aren't there yet. But there's lots of informative information and races to watch and to find out about. So please do enjoy the weekend. Be lucky, and I will see you again soon.